Hey, well, I didn't know I was going to be back so quickly. Welcome. I think I'm putting this on both of the channels. So, welcome to everyone on integrated preparedness and on American reversion. I am going to put something over on the Patreon page of American reversion. You'll hear what it is in a minute. But I was getting ready to kind of start relaxing for the evening, and this popped up on Breitbart. It says Jordan Peterson tells Canadians to withdraw bank funds to avoid Trudeau tyranny. I think it's important. I'm going to read some of this here. And the reason that I'm doing this, I know that we have some viewers in Canada. So if you haven't heard about this, this is for you, but it's also about everyone in the United States because uh, what we're going to be seeing here pretty soon with our convoys, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, nor do we know what position or what actions our government might take as a result of this. And if you think that our leadership is less uh, tyrannical, less totalitarian, or less socialist than the little guy up north, I think you're mistaken. I won't, I don't like to say you're wrong if you disagree with me, but I'll just say this, that I believe that they are. And I believe that they've been headed that way for a long time. And certainly we've had the workings within our governmental structure and educational structures to support that. So I'm going to read here a little bit about what Jordan Peterson says. And I'm going to put the entire, it's like an hour long um, interview over on the Patreon channel of American Reversion. Okay, so if you're interested, you can go over there and see it. That's what this is all about, is staying informed. And this is what I've been saying for a while. I've been saying, get your money out of the banks. Okay, so you never know. And the lesson here is it can happen fast. If it starts to happen, it happens before you know it. Okay. Says here, Jordan Peterson is the subhead. Jordan Peterson warned Canadians in a podcast this week to withdraw money from Canadian banks, citing a source allegedly in the Canadian military who warned the situation is far worse than imagined. Okay. Beginning the article, the situation in Canada is the unprecedented activation of the Emergencies Act, a law intended to grant the federal government sweeping powers against terrorism and mass violence. Left-wing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, I'm not really trying to pronounce that, I was just mocking him, invoked the act last week for the first time in Canadian history, claiming it was necessary to dispel peaceful protests linked to the Freedom Convoy movement. Freedom Convoy protesters are demanding an end to the civil rights violations by the Trudeau government, supposedly necessary to fight the you know what, right? The largest iteration of these protests was stationed outside of Parliament in Ottawa and had no significant record of violence. Parliament voted Monday night to approve Trudeau's motion to invoke the Emergencies Act by a vote of 185 for and 151 against, despite the fact that the police had violently ended the Ottawa protest and no active Freedom Convoy protests existed at the time of the vote. In addition to allowing police to clear the Ottawa protests with violence, the Emergencies Act granted the government the ability to freeze the bank accounts of those linked to the protest, including, remember, that's what I talked about in the previous video on American Reversion, including that means donating $10 to their support fund, right? That's right. So some of those people got their bank accounts frozen. So Peterson is saying this now. He says, I've been in contact with a reliable source within the Canadian military, and he told me today by email that if I had any sense, I'd take my money out of the Canadian banks because the situation is far worse than I've been informed. He said that on a podcast recently. Okay. I think that's it. That's all I want to say. Like I say, I will, let's see if there's anything more. Yeah. Okay. There's a little bit more to that, but it's all included in the video that I'll put over there. Again, that's going to be on American Reversion Patreon site, and I've already put it over there. So it's a good lesson I have suggested for a while. Take your money out of the banks. Keep as much in the bank as you need to, pay the bills you need to online. You have to have that. It's difficult to make your mortgage payment by going down and taking some cash somewhere, right? You can't do that. But to the extent that you can keep as much as possible, cash is king. And there will be some. Nah, that's right. I'm going to make a separate one on the naysayers because they're worthy of a video of their own. All these people that come and say, you know what, that kind of thing. But I said in a previous one on American Reversion, I think, or was it over on, I forget. I guess it was over on Integrative Preparedness. I've pulled myself out of the markets for the most part. I leave a token amount in there, see what's going to happen. But I pulled that out, and depending on, people will say, well, how much should I pull out or how much should I keep at home? Well, first off, you want to make sure that it's secure, right? I'll tell you a little story. My dad used to sell insurance, and he'd go down in some dodgy parts of town, and he sold some insurance to somebody, and the guy said, well, I'm going to pay you for it right now. Can I pay you in cash? And my dad was, it was unusual. And he says, well, yeah, he was used to people writing him checks. And so the guy went back in his pantry, and he came out with a big jar of Brussels sprouts. And he started reaching into that big jar of Brussels sprouts and took one out and unfolded a Brussels sprout, and it was a $5 bill, and he unfolded another one, it was a $10 bill. Well, you get my point, right? So they're all different kinds. There's all different ways to secure your cash. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't roll it up. I would want it somewhere much more secure than that. But that's up to you. I think that things are getting a lot shakier. So keep the things that are valuable to you close. Anything that can be frozen out from you or wiped away with the stroke of a finger on a keypad would make me very nervous. And I know that for some of you, it's going to be more difficult than others. I'll just leave it at that. You know which way it can be more difficult than others, right? So I'll leave it at that. Remember, there's two things, since I'm on both channels here, I'll say that for all of you on Integrative Preparedness, we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And that means anticipating things that could happen and taking steps to mitigate the risks of those things, right? And then over on American Reversion, we say that America needs a reversion and it needs you to be a part of it. Things are sliding down the hill fast. This just shows another way that this country needs a change, whether that's a reversion, revolution, we don't know what it's going to be. By that I mean revolution, revolving, going back, right? You knew that's what I meant. Okay. All right. You all have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.